And this I want you as class students always to remember. It makes no difference what benefits you have received or ever may receive through my personal ministry. I mean by that, through my healing or teaching work. I want you to remember always that it could only have happened because of these principles, not because of this person. And therefore, anyone on the face of the globe who wishes to devote themselves to the study and practice of these principles can go and do likewise, as long as they don't lose their head and believe that all of a sudden they have become great, or they have become spiritual, or that they have had some particular gift of God. Let us remember this. An individual is an individualization of God. Therefore, every individual has the capacity to show forth infinity, but not all in the same direction. As there must be perhaps spiritual leaders, so there must also be bridge builders. There must also be publishers. There must also be musicians and artists. Therefore, to each is given a gift or talent in accord with their own individual capacity, and all of this, more or less, because of preparation in previous existence. Now, when you understand this, you will understand that you can be as perfect in your particular work as you yourself want to be, in accord with the amount of devotion, blood, sweat, and tears, Mr. Churchill called it, that you are willing to give to your particular activity. And let no one believe for a moment that there is anything to be acquired in life without labor. Whether or not you engage in an art, a profession, a business, or even if you decide that you will do spiritual healing work, take my word for it, you will work, and work hard. You all witnessed the experience here yesterday, and the amount of work that went into the 4 or more hours of public speaking. And some of you know that that was followed by interviews and more talks and mail dictated. Now I can tell you that the rest of the night was in telephone calls from far distant places for help desperately needed. They weren't unnecessary calls. And so you will know that this past 24 hours has been work, true of a pleasurable nature, but work. So let nobody believe that they are going to study truth or practice it on cloud 9. Your periods on cloud 9 are going to be little intervals. As for the rest, you're going to roll up your sleeves and work if you expect to attain spiritual proficiency. Now, the reason for this is that there is no God that cares particularly for you or for me. There is a God, of course. This world couldn't exist, we couldn't exist, if there weren't a creative principle of life. If there weren't a creative principle manifesting itself as your life and as mine. And in our spiritual identity, that God, that creative principle, maintains and sustains us gloriously, beautifully, perfectly, and abundantly. But because as humans we became separated from the kingdom of God, and through truth study we are now on that pathway from the feast of the prodigal son with the swine to the return to the Father's house, where we are to be reinvested with the jewel and the robe of divine sonship. But our work comes, our labor comes, because that return to the Father's house is not accomplished without our effort, our own work. Therefore, I give it to you as a principle. No benefit can come into your life except as an activity of your own consciousness. You cannot sit idly by and believe for a minute that there is some kind of a God somewhere that is going to take over and set you up on cloud 9 or even cloud 7 or 6. Oh no. It is true that you have not chosen the spiritual path. It is true that the finger of God touched you and turned you in the direction of a metaphysical or spiritual study. And if you are obedient, if you have a listening ear, it will guide you either from one teaching to another or one teacher to another until you have found that one which is yours. Or if you have already found that teaching or teacher, it will guide you into an understanding and consciousness of the principles necessary for your unfoldment. But at every step, it will be the activity of truth in your consciousness that will do the work. And any moment that you permit your consciousness to be left open or idle or in wasted moments, remember that in that moment you are interfering with your own progress.